and they didn't do things like caution tape or even make it. They just left the place the way it was, and you could just walk and go look at it. There was no like accident investigation scene where they taped it off or nothing. Even like days later, it was so.
And that's what I didn't know. That's what they need to teach in history classes is rules of engagement and how, what he was saying is,
that's why we lose.
There was an M60.
Anybody until after they've fired upon us, so that's why.
Yeah.
So the concussion blew all the glass and even blew where you put your uniforms in a locker. It actually blew those doors off throughout the rest of the compound that were behind 6-story cemented slab structures. So the concussion was pretty severe, and but then, like I said, they made us retreat because they didn't want to defend it because when you go there, when you go through customs, they don't allow you to have any magazines because you can't show a woman's body other than her hands, and there is no magazines that are that restrictive. So you couldn't bring any religious material in. You cannot bring an American flag. You cannot bring anything that showed the flesh. And they searched it all.
Now, where was this at?
Yeah, what he was telling me, Keith was inside. I think he was taking a shower when you were talking about being in Saudi Arabia and that truck bomb was about to go off and there was a guy on the roof with an M60.
Yeah, the guy on the roof has an M60, but he can't fire it because the rules of engagement means, they always give the other guy the benefit of the doubt. And but because of his position and where he had pulled up, we knew it was a truck bomb. But in those kind of rules, you can't prove anything until you're already dead. So he couldn't do anything. All he had to do was run down 6 stories from the roof, telling everybody to run for their lives. So, but I think 54 people died anyway.
What city was this in?
Dhahran.
And so they shut you guys. How many different countries did you say?
It was 7,000 people, French, English, and American.
And so they shut you guys down.
Yeah, they shut everything down, and we had to fly all the airspace on Iraq had to be patrolled 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 10 years to suppress his attempts to fly. So, that's a lot of sorties, a lot of money, a lot of time. And so when they said shut down and move inboard to 90 miles south of Riyadh, that's going to be a logistics nightmare because they said we had 2 weeks to get it done. So, and continuing to fly and so forth. So it was a big deal. And then moved just into tents because we didn't have time to build anything else. And they didn't want us to build anything permanent because we were considered a reluctant, unwanted guest, and they didn't want to, make it look like we were going to stay there. So, tents, and yeah.
Tents in 130 degrees.
Yeah, every day there is 115 to 125. And when I got off the plane, when you're on the ocean there, the ocean doesn't move. Persian Gulf, you're 1,000 miles further south than Key West, so it's very, very humid. It was quarter to midnight, and the pilot said, "Welcome to Saudi Arabia. It's 99 degrees with 90% humidity," and that's how it was every day. Every day was no less than 60% humidity and 125 degrees. So it was miserably sweating. We had pools of water beneath the, working on the flight line. Because the plane was all asphalt and cement, and the planes are...
What planes were you working on?
Oh, everything there. That place had everything. Everything. There wasn't any kind of plane that wasn't there.
What was the coolest plane that you got to work on?
None of the coolest. I primarily worked in F-16s, but there's a little bit of, F-15s and A-10s, and You know, I was in a limited area because they put like planes that are similar together. But you fly in and out with C5s and primarily C5s, Super 41s.
And I tried to take notes to tell Keith, but you can tell him about the electricity, how they're always splicing it, and you had 3 seconds to shower, and then if you're sweating, you couldn't eat.
When you went inboard there, it's the biggest airfield in the world, and it's as flat as the eye can see. And they couldn't get logistics set up in such a short amount of time, so they threw up all these tents, and they said, well, from where I lived, the bathroom was a quarter of a mile away. So you had to wrap a towel around and then walk with flip-flops. And it's windy. It's very, very windy there inboard. On the ocean, it's not. But so it's windy, it's dusty, dust all the time. You go there, they have these raised open toilets that are just like up on stilts. And the sewage just drops down below, and the bladders can't hold them. They don't get pumped out of. And so they overflow. And you have to walk with your flip-flops through the sewage. And the flies are everywhere. And when you get to the commode, by 8 o'clock, the toilet paper's all gone. So you had to, store it all somewhere and steal napkins from the chow hall. And anyway, and then if you go over to take a shower, the shower is again an open shower with these bladders that sit out in the heat. So by the end of the day, if you're coming on a swing shift, the bladder heat is 150 degrees. There's no way to regulate temperature. So if you're on the swing shift, your body gets scorched. And if you're in the morning shift, because there's nothing to keep the temperature, it's freezing cold. And they could never get the power right because they're trying to splice in. So the little light, when they're always cutting into the power, the light would start to dingle, flicker. And then you knew you only had a few seconds to get the soap off, or you'd be in total darkness. And you'd still have to flip-flop your way through the sewage to get home with the towel around you with the wind blowing, so you think this is dirty as when you got there. It's kind of a futile thing to try to, clean yourself under those conditions.
And then the chow hall, if you showed up sweaty.
Yeah, the chow hall, if you they had a guard that would watch each person come through, and if you were dripping sweat, they'd send you home to start the process all over again and trying to clean yourself, because they had these open salad bowls, and they didn't want you reaching in and dripping your sweat across the food bowls. So that was their idea for why you couldn't be sweaty, And then you'd have these confrontations. I mean, people would fight because it was like, I just took a shower. I just got out 5 minutes ago. It's 125 degrees. You have to walk. There's no air-conditioned car to drive the shower. And so, people would be fighting over that. And so they had I could never, ever call home because they had one radio that it was low priority. All the higher-ups would cut in. So they had this line where you'd have to, I got a picture of it. I got a picture of something. You'd have to wait 2 hours in line out in the heat. There's no chairs, standing out in the miserable heat to get in, to dial home. You don't even know if the person's going to be there, and you get 10 minutes on the line. Assuming they don't cut you off sooner. So I never bothered. It wasn't worth it. And even the line for the chow hall was that way. 250 people in front of you at every line. If you went to the BX, 250 people. It takes you hours to do anything. And so I didn't bother with anything. I just this is, ridiculous.
What year was that?
It was 96 in Saudi. 96.
What a story.
That was when I left there. They brought us out to the flight line. And this is as far as I can see, it's just black asphalt flight line. And there's all people that are, we had one guy, it was the last day, so they had our mobility bags, the mobility stuff, your flak jacket, your chem gear, and a little bit of your personal stuff. You didn't have much personal stuff. And so they put it in these bags, and they had a juice staff to come by, and they have a guy in the back that would pull the bags up and put it on the truck. You had a guy driving and one guy behind saying, go. So there was a little bit of miscommunication, and the guy that was 20 years old pulling the bags up, a bag was starting to fall off, so he reached forward to pull while the guy said go. So the truck went forward, and the guy fell out with the bag, and his neck went right on the asphalt and broke his neck, 20 years old. So they flew him into Frankfurt, and his parents came out, and they said, pull the plug, kill him. So he died on his last day, trying to save somebody else's, suitcase.
Oh my God.
But anyway, so they drove us out there and sat us there on the asphalt, and they said, one day someone's going to pick you up. Bye. It's like it's hot as hell. It's like food. Every once in so many hours, somebody would drop you a cardboard box with some food and water in it. We had no idea. It's not like you're in an air terminal with a electronic departure gate time thing, right? They literally just drove us out in the middle of the flight line and dropped us off. You couldn't see a building for as far as the eye could see. And they say, "Yep, a C-15 is gonna come by and pick you up." So I think like a day later, like 11 o'clock at night, it landed, and we got on there, and they had web seating. You don't have chairs. They just got web chairs. You know what a web chair is?
Yeah, I've seen it on that TV
webbing.
show. Yeah.
It's like webbing. It's like cargo webbing, and so there's no chairs. So and everybody's really happy. And I had a passport from Saudi Arabia. I didn't have a U.S. passport. I had a Saudi Arabian passport.
No. So
I fly, and when you fly into Frankfurt at that time, they didn't make you go through customs, right? So I go into customs, and I sent all my money home. I didn't have any money because I sent it home to my wife, right? So I got there. Some guy at the dorm knew that. He gave me $50. I didn't have any money. So I flew into Frankfurt. I was supposed to spend a month. We go to 9 countries in Europe. And I got to the window at the train station, and I gave her my credit card. She goes, that credit card's bad. What? I gave her the other credit card. She goes, no, credit card's bad. What? I said, all I got is $50. Yep, sorry, I won't buy anything. So I have one of those calling cards. I called her and my wife, and I said, what's going on? She goes, yeah, I don't know. Looks like somebody stole all the money, and they closed it all down for fraud. I have no idea and can't help you. I'm like, what? What do you mean somebody? I found out later she took all her credit cards and had mine transfer her debt over to mine. They thought that was fraud, closed everything down. So I ended up with no money, stuck there for a month vacation. And so I had to, this is when I called my brother, the one I had never seen before. He lived there, he was born over there. And I asked him if I could borrow $1,200, I think it was. 17 or $1,200, that's all the money I had to visit 9 countries for 30 days.